Good morning, everyone. Happy Tuesday, April the 7th. Steve Greene here, and we're going to kick off my twice weekly presentation right now. This is live streamed, so if you have questions and you're live, please just put them in the comments. I'm going to try to monitor that on a separate computer, so if I'm looking over, that's why. If you want to email me questions, I'm going to try to monitor that on the phone. If you're looking at this in replay, and I am pleased to tell you that it's getting a couple hundred views each time, you can email me questions or put them in the comments, and I'll try to answer them on subsequent presentations. The next one will be Thursday at noon. So the plan is to do these Tuesday at 10, Thursday at noon. That seemed to be A, the frequency that people thought would be helpful, and B, the time. So structure in the chaos, version 2.1. Why 2.1? Because this is the 9th presentation. Every time I do it, I get feedback, and I try to make the feedback appropriate and add or change or alter or delete things that are going on as we go. So that's what's going on. So there's a couple of disclaimers and just setting the stage. This is live. This is being recorded. It will probably be released exactly as it is recorded for just for simplicity. If you have any issues with that and you want to log out, that's okay. These are my opinions. This is nothing official from a school district or a government. You can submit questions in the chat, or you can email them to me, and I will address them as we go through the presentation. Maybe in the middle, maybe in the end. And this, again, is live. The purpose and the target audience are parents with children who are now on home study due to social distancing. It's a big change. The students are home. The parents are home. The parents are trying to work. The kids are trying to get schoolwork done. In some cases, it's very stressful. I had a lot of questions being asked, so I figured the easiest way to address this would just be to go put something like this together. This is the third week this has been happening, and I feel like this is helping people, so I'm going to continue to do them. So here we go. How to create an at-home environment that enables children to learn effectively. Just to frame this, this is about a 20-minute presentation. Again, I'll try to stop for questions as they come up. So when this first started, we were in a week-by-week situation. Now it's gone to indefinite. At least in Pennsylvania and in my local school district. There's a lot of uncertainty about what's going to happen. Hopefully, as they are saying, we will flatten the curve. Things will get back to normal maybe by May or June. I don't know. But right now, my concern is to answer commonly asked questions, make suggestions that you as a parent, as a student, as a family can immediately implement, and give you some channels for ongoing support. So here we go. I'm Steve Greene. I have a tutoring and education company called Make the Grade. I'm based in Pennsylvania near Philadelphia. I've been doing this 24 years. For that, I was 12 years as a classroom teacher. I am the author of this book. I actually found one, just got them back in. They took them 5 weeks to ship them to me. It's a best-selling book on basically how to do school, how to manage time, how to manage information, how to have a daily success action plan. And I use a lot of those ideas in this presentation. I also use them in the podcast that I publish once or twice a week and in the community that I oversee. So these are all sources of help, I think, for everyone, no matter what the circumstance, but particularly now. So we're in a crazy period of time. It isn't just school that's being affected, but that is the focus of this presentation. And we got to transition. We got to adapt. Online learning, virtual learning, remote learning, call it what you want. As a full-time tutor, I've been doing remote learning or virtual learning for more than 10 years. This is not unusual to me, but as a parent who is displaced from their work and is trying to manage this, I can understand the difficulty and the frustration. So here are, at least up till now, the most commonly asked questions and concerns. What is virtual learning? What are the best practices? Asynchronous versus synchronous, how to create an effective learning environment at home. Should you co-teach or not? Best uses of resources. How do you get short and long-term support, including we're going to roll out this week is unlimited tutoring options. So here we go. Virtual learning. Number one, when you have it, I would definitely suggest using the school-based curriculum as a guide. And this has been a month. In some places, we've been in the circumstance. Most schools are starting to or have rolled out some sort of curriculum. I would use that as a guide. If you don't have that, I'm going to get to that in a second. But the guide would be, at the very least, to get the work that the school is issuing done. But I think this is a good opportunity to let your kids be creative. Give them some independence. Let them study things that they may want to do and they don't get a chance to do otherwise. So just to kind of put this together, number one, when you have it, use the school-based curriculum as a guide. Number two, there's going to be short and long-term projects in between that. I could define short-term as anything that's due the next day or has a firm deadline. So today is Tuesday. You have a math assignment that is due Wednesday. That's short term. Longer term would be things like quizzes and tests and papers and projects that you might have a week or so out. But the key is, under any time, you don't want to put them off till the end. So you want to do them incrementally and chunk them a little bit every day. As I mentioned, I would give older children more independence, just like normal. A 10th, 11th grader, you're typically not sitting there overseeing every minute of their homework, if at all. Second, third grader, sometimes it's a completely dependent situation. Try to be creative. I have talked extensively about the baseball project I did with a student a couple weeks ago, and this was right when everything was really in a big state of flux. What we did was we took all sorts of disciplines: history, math, science, language, writing, tech, put it all together, and he did a project on his own. This was an 8th grader, about the history of baseball and the culture of baseball, because this was a very interesting topic for him. He has since done one about music, actually 2 about music, and he's enjoying it. And the idea is we're using all these things: the math of baseball, the science, the physics, the history, when did it start, all the different things, the geography. And I can talk more about this if people want to, but I would refer you back to presentations 1, 2, and 3. The key is you got to keep the kids engaged. First of all, if you're an adult trying to do work, you need them to be interested in what they're doing, so not constantly coming to you and interrupting your work. But you want to try to make it fun for them. This is a big change for kids too. They're bored. They're not seeing their friends. Give them input and give them input on 2 things: what they're going to learn and when they're going to do it. And more on that in a few minutes. Regarding technology, and I talked about this a few times, I would use it when appropriate, and I recommend about the same ratio as you are in school. So if a student has a Chromebook or a tablet or whatever, and they're using it for all their work, I would do the same thing. But use traditional methods too: notebooks, paper, books. I know. Okay, asynchronous versus synchronous. This is a simple topic. Asynchronous is out of time. So if I am doing this presentation right now and you are listening to it as a re-recording in an hour or a day or a week or a month, that is asynchronous. It's a pre-made material or topical thing where you can self-pace and self-instruct. Synchronous would be live. If you are one of the several people who are online right now and you are listening to this in real time, that is synchronous. What I am seeing is most of the school-based education right now is asynchronous. Teacher makes something, if they do it all, where they have worksheets, the student is doing it on their own time, as opposed to, say, a live Zoom or something like that, where the teacher is instructing in real time. So here's a biggie. How do you create an effective learning environment at home? And really, if you think about it, this is no different than how you would do it in any circumstance. Number one, you got to have a good physical structure. Where does the child do their work? Is it controlled? Is it well lit? Is it quiet? Is it comfortable? Do they have everything they need there? Or are you sitting there in the middle of the family room with the television on and the dog running around and everybody screaming and yelling while you're cleaning up, such and such? So there's a little bit of a common sense piece there, but you may have to just think about that and reassess it. It's fine if kids do work sitting on their bed. I've had parents say, "Oh, my kid only does do her work sitting on her bed. She has a desk. Why don't she use it?" That I'm less concerned about. Temporal. Treat this like usual homework time. Okay. Normally speaking, kids are in school 7:30 to 3, plus or minus. Maybe they have sports or activities or clubs or plays. typically they're doing homework in the late afternoon, evening, after dinner. Now you can push that up because the instruction is compacted now. But I would treat this the same way. Okay. You have to set structure as a parent. Okay. People, we're going to start homework at 3. You're going to do it until 4:30 or something like that. You can break it up. And I talk a lot about that in the book. Okay. Information management, time management. But the key is to have a plan based on time, start time, end time, and stick to it. Technology, just to repeat what I said, use it at the same ratio that you've done in school. And this, I think, D is really where it's a little bit different. Record keeping and accountability. The parents, in many cases now, are essentially becoming the managers, classroom managers of their children. The work is always going to be there. It's always been homework. It's always been tests to study for. The difference is you, as a parent, have to really keep on your kids about doing it, keeping them accountable. The key, I'm saying this really more as a parent and less as an educator, is to be consistent on how you do it. Same time each day, same time each week. Try to keep the same amount of time. And then lastly, independence versus dependence. Older the child, the more independent they can be. Junior or senior, fresh sophomore in high school are going to be going off to college, and they need to be independent anyway. Middle school, somewhere in the middle, second, third grader, obviously dependent on the parent. To co-teach or not to co-teach, and this was a huge question in the beginning. It's faded a little bit, so this may be retired from the presentation. But co-teaching is simple. It's just when more than one individual is the instructor. Okay, this happens a lot in schools. It happens all the time in high school because you have different teachers teaching different topics. It could be interpreted that the same topic could be taught by multiple teachers. But the simple of it is when more than one person is teaching. Now, in our case, that might be the teacher or the school providing information through the virtual platforms and the parent administering it or overseeing it at home. So what's the role of the parent? I don't think the role of the parent is as an instructor unless you are comfortable with the topic. I don't know that most parents want to or even able to teach calculus or 8th grade history or whatever. But the role of the parent at the very least is to oversee the administrative piece of what's going on. But normally, if you're strictly defining co-teaching, that would be the role, to actually help with the instruction. I see the role of the school to provide information, okay? To provide the information, create the curriculum. Even if they don't, the students should know where their classes left off. Let's say your school cut off March 28th, just as a random date. You were doing work up till that point. You can go back, look at that, and you can look at either what you did before in review or what's coming up and work towards it. Short and long-term expectations, I think, are similar to school. Okay, you've got to keep focused on a day-to-day basis within the realities of what are going on. On the other hand, a lot of people have a lot more time to do these things than they used to. We don't have all the distractions and things like that. A lot of people are just stuck at home. So short term, I think you have to set up a structure, stick to the structure. Again, use the school-based info as a guideline. Long term, since I don't think anybody exactly knows where this is going in the end, I think we just have to establish the short-term goals, and the short-term structure builds and builds and builds to the long-term piece. But the key is, like everything, children need structure. It's no different than every other thing in your house. Okay, this is just overseeing the academics, which some parents aren't accustomed to. So let's talk about resources. First of all, what are the options? Well, you've got the internet. So the internet is, and probably always will be for the rest of history, the greatest resource of information. Okay, you can in seconds search almost anything, try to learn almost anything. But the trouble is there's so much of it, you're not really sure what's reliable information. And especially from an academic standpoint, it may not be helpful if you don't know what your kids need to learn. So again, I'm going to go back to the baseline of what the schools are trying to provide as structure, and then use things like the internet or other online-based resources like Quizlet or Wikipedia or whatever to supplement, to enrich, and to fortify that. You can also try to make your own materials. I've had a lot of students the last 2 weeks. We are making our own PowerPoints. We're making our own Quizlets. We're making our own presentations just as a learning resource. Of course, we do have the school provided curriculum when available. And frankly, the quality of that varies. I've seen some that's excellent. I've seen some that isn't. Depends on a lot of things. It's really not the point. But the key is that's your base point. If you have it, the school provided, the course-based. Random, I have a couple families where every day they just go to the children and say, look, what do you want to learn today? It's almost like the old style homeschooling system. And just letting the kids do some research or play around with things they just like. In one family that they wanted to learn about, or one of the kids wanted to learn their favorite musician, another one wanted to learn about horses. One wanted to learn about flowers because it's springtime here. So random is good. Give your children a chance to do that. Take 5 or 10 or 15 minutes. Say, look, just go learn about whatever you want and come back and tell me about it for a couple of minutes. I see that with my kids. They actually enjoyed it. Free versus paid. At this point, I am suggesting there's so much free information out there. I don't think you really need to go to paid. I think if we were longer into this and you were considering a longer term homeschooling or alternative schooling, you might want to look into a paid curriculum. I work with several homeschool or home-based education situations, and they actually buy completely made curriculums for every class, history, English, math, whatever, at lots of grade levels. They're expensive. They're very good, and they're very, very thorough. But I don't think we need to go that direction, at least not yet. How do you get support? Okay. Number one, short term. I think you need to set goals. Set time goals, set structural goals, set a timetable, and check. Keep your kids accountable. Ask them questions. And just, you need to be in charge here. Just like kids cleaning the room. If you let them go, they're not going to do it. Long term, I think you can seek out one-on-one support, such as tutoring that I can provide or other companies can provide. The school, the teacher can provide support. I'm not exactly sure in individual cases what's available there. Social community-based, I have gotten involved in about 10 groups, some on things like Facebook where they're just, stuff like, what stores have soap, what stores have certain kinds of foods. But from the educational standpoint, there are social groups out there working with us and parents sharing ideas. I have my own community I'd be happy to tell people about. It's normally fee-based. I'm offering it free right now, and the podcast. And I'm going to roll out, and this is, again, kind of a popular demand thing, an unlimited tutoring option. This is how I make my living, tutoring or providing educational support. And I want to make sure if people need help, they're getting it. So I would encourage you, if you are seeing this, to reach out, message me, email me, and I'll provide that information in a second. And I can tell you about the unlimited options. Okay, let's see if we have any questions. Most of the questions, there's a few of them, but they're similar. So I'm just going to answer them in batch. The question basically is, where do I start? I'm not used to this. I need to get my work done. A parent is asking. Number one, I think you have to just draw a line and say, okay, let's sit down as a family. We need to establish some rules. Okay. This is what you're going to have to do as a child on your own. This is what I need to do as a parent to help you. And this is what we're going to do together. So for example, and again, this is going to be different at age and grade levels. Let's just say you have a 10-year-old. Okay. You have bang, 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 and bang you need to do. Of those 4, I need you to try to do these 2 on your own, and then we'll come together and we're going to do the other 2 together. But you need to establish that. Maybe have a morning family meeting if everyone is there. I've had parents say to me, I've spent more time with my kids and my spouse in the last 3 weeks than I have in the last year. And I think that's a good thing. I don't think it's stress-free, but I think it's a good thing in general. And I think, there's going to be some silver linings to this situation if we can kind of keep it together. All right. So we are a little bit short on questions today. That's great. Hopefully the presentation was helpful to everybody. Here's some next steps. Number 1, please email me. If you have any questions, you can message me on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, etc. Is at Make the Grade. I probably should add that into the presentation. These are still happening Tuesdays at 10, Thursdays at noon. They are also posted up if you want information or you want to see the backlog of past ones. I am offering live office hours and daily support meetups. If you want to find out about that, there's the social media and local direct support groups, my own success community, and the podcast. And now rolling out is this unlimited tutoring option. So I am going to call this a success. This is 21 minutes. My goal is always about 20. I know everybody's very busy. I appreciate everyone who has come on. I want to thank you. Please stay home. Please stay safe. I am reading reports every day of people just not listening, and that's just going to prolong everything. And I'm not trying to get political or proselytize, but it's going to take a group effort to move ahead of this. So I'm just going to flash this up here for another 10 seconds, and then we are going to call it a day. Thank you again, everyone. Steve Greene, Structure in the Chaos 2.1. I hope this was helpful for you. My goal is two things. One, that everybody listening to this or seeing this can take some sort of immediate action to help you improve or have a better experience in your home learning situation. Number two, please share it. Please share the link. Please share this idea, because I really feel that the more people that see and have this information, it's just going to help them. Okay, so I appreciate those two things. Let's check one last time for questions. If you want to find out about the unlimited tutoring, please email me. Or if you're watching this on Facebook or one of the other social channels, just message me there. It's a tremendous opportunity, but really it's about helping people. All right. Next slide. Thank you again, everyone, and have a great and safe week. Steve Greene signing off.